Okay, cost of living in Dubai. Now, a lot of people recently have been asking me, what's it like to live in Dubai and what's the cost of living? It's usually round about this time of year when it starts to get cold in Europe and North America that people want to come here to do some warm weather training. It's about 25 degrees Celsius outside today. It's beautiful. It's really nice climate in order to do your training. It gets ridiculously hot in the summer. So June, July, August, 40, 45 degrees, even hotter. And it's a very dry heat. I've experienced heat, jungle heat in Chiang Mai. I've experienced like southern Spanish heat in July or August. Nothing hits like this dry heat from the desert. So June, July, August, very, very difficult to be here. Most people go overseas or they spend all the time in the malls, which drives me absolutely nuts. So I need to get out. But in terms of cost of living, let's start with the basics. So everyone's perception of Dubai is that it's super expensive. It's full of rich people and everything's luxurious and super materialistic. And there is an element of that. It has to be said, there is an element of that. And I'm far away from it. So where I live in Sport City, you've got Marina, which is 20 minutes from here drive. You've got Business Bay, which is probably 25 minutes. And then there's a few there's not a real center to Dubai, but there's places where people live, like the Burj Khalifa, tallest building of the world, in the world. That's like a hotspot to live right now. And you can get an apartment in there and it's probably gonna be one of the most expensive apartments in the world. But in terms of, let's start with the basics. In terms of food, you can go out and this is the great thing about Dubai, there is so much competition. Whether it's restaurants, whether it's grocery stores, whether it's electronics, whatever, there's so much competition that it drives the price down because everybody's competing for your custom. So if I go to a restaurant, I can quickly look on Google how good it is. It's not gonna have 100 reviews or 500 reviews. It's gonna have 10,000 reviews. Same with your food apps, and there's so many food apps here, but the main three are Talabat, Deliveroo, and Uber Eats. You're gonna see thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of reviews. So when something's a 4.9 out of 5, it is a 4.9 out of 5 because so many people have rated it. I don't get that when I'm back in Spain because that delivery culture in Spain isn't as developed. Same with restaurants. People are not used to leaving reviews like they are in countries like this or densely populated cities. So if I go to a restaurant, I might go to a great Indian restaurant or an Italian restaurant, and it's extremely competitive. It's cheaper than it is in Manchester, where I'm from, and you get high quality food. And for instance, the best Italian in the whole of Dubai, in the whole of the Middle East, is 250 meters away from where I live. I didn't pick here because that's close to the nearest Italian, but it just so happened to be here, and it's fantastic. But you can go all the way up, and that's the great thing. If you like that stuff, it's a great thing about Dubai. So if you're a foodie, you're really into that kind of experience, you can pay whatever, $50, $500, $5,000 for food. It's possible for you to go to those places, those restaurants and bars and clubs, where you can pay $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for a table in order just to be there with bottles, etc. We used to think in Barcelona that it was expensive to spend $1,000 for a table. Here, it's just the magnitude is there, and the demand is there as well. So you've got anything you want to play for, and again, that's the great thing. It's so competitive that you can find anything for everybody. When it comes to apartment costs or housing costs, again, you can start as cheap as you want. There's obviously places where delivery drivers live, where maids live, where cleaners live. There's obviously places like that. A lot of people will rent a room in a villa or an apartment, and they maybe have it's sad to see how little space they actually have, but it's also extremely honorable that they're coming over here from maybe the Philippines or India. They're living in a tiny space where everything is kind of in their little bunk bed of on a bunk bed, they're on the bottom row and they've got absolutely everything, laptops, all these different things, and they're sending money home. For me, that's real success. The fact that they've taken a leap of faith, come to Dubai to earn more money than they can earn in their home country, and then sending a lot of that back home to secure their family's future. That's real success. It's not successful when you just get a guy from Manchester or London who comes over here, saves the tax, and spends the extra tax on a Lamborghini and Ferrari. That for me is not success. Success is the distance you travel from where you started, and doing things like that. To look after your family is way better than making yourself look good. Anyway, so in terms of apartments, if you want a studio apartment, there's a lot of studio apartments here available. You spend about $10,000 a year, $10,000 to $12,000 a year, so $1,000 a month, and that's usually split up into 12. They pay by checks here still, so it could be one check, so you pay for the whole year up front. That used to be most common. Now you can split it into 6 checks or 4 checks or 12 checks even, and pay monthly. They're starting to bring in direct debit for housing payments, for rental payments quite soon, which will be, it's quite new to see such a developed country. Quite funny to see such a developed country going into the direct debit world when it comes to checks. And rental costs, but that's something. But then in terms of how high you can go, if you want a villa on the beach, if you want a villa on the Palm and they're building into the sea, or you want an apartment in the Burj Khalifa, you're going to pay whatever it takes. And we're talking like $50 million, plus. But you can find everything all the way up, and the city is expanded. There's so much land. If we're kind of like looking at the whole of the Middle East and the whole of Dubai, we're only kind of taking up right now maybe 2 to 4%. So there's a lot of building going on. There's a lot of housing developments. You can buy townhouses, villas, extremely reasonable. When I compare it back to Manchester prices and definitely London prices, it's cheaper here. For what you get, it's cheaper than in Manchester. If you're outside the city centre and you're prepared to kind of have a 3-4 bedroom villa, you're going to get more for your money here. But the build quality isn't going to be what it is in Manchester. Just as simple as that. There's more regulation and there's more of a reputation to uphold in Manchester, in the UK, than there is here. Standards are higher in the UK. That has to be said. Here, I think it's improving, but if you speak to most people, they'll have a problem with the build quality of their villa or townhouse. Okay, in terms of cars, in terms of your consumer power, etc., the VAT here is 5%. It's 20% in the UK. So everything seems to cost less. Whether it's cars, whether it's you're buying a pair of shoes, whether you're buying a pair of trainers, whether you're buying a suit, everything seems to cost less. And again, it's the competitive nature of there's 1,000 suit shops. So the demand is there, so the prices are driven down. There's an insane car marketplace here for second-hand cars, so the prices come down. For cars, you've got, ideally if you're moving here, you probably want to have warranty, you probably want to have some kind of guarantee that if something goes wrong with the car that you're about to buy, you're safe, because you're going to move to an area where there's people from every country in the world here. There's 200 countries represented. So you need to find, if you're going to land here, you need to find your crew. You need to find the mechanic that you go to. You need to find your dentist. You need to find a doctor. People who are not going to take advantage of you because you're from a different place. You need to find your solid people around. So mechanics, wherever you are in the world, they're always going to try and take advantage, or vast majority are going to try to take advantage. And if you don't know anything about cars, like me, you can take your car in there and they can tell you it's dead and it's a complete write-off unless you pay this, and you'd have to pay it because it's in their hands, or get a second opinion. But my point is that if you can get warranty on your car, then you're going to have that peace of mind. And I think overall what you get here is, if you kind of look at that cost of living and you compare it to what people are earning, the average salary here is about 15,000 dirhams, which is about $4,000. And a lot of those lower service level jobs are bringing the average down. Yes, there's a lot of wealthy people here who are earning a lot, and they're making the average go up slightly, but there's definitely, it's a triangle, right? So the base of the triangle is definitely being pulled down. The average is being pulled down by the base of the triangle. So typically you speak to people and they're usually earning 20 to 25,000 jobs in a job where you've got 5 to 10 years experience and you know what you're doing in a field, whether it's IT, whether it's law, whether it's kind of marketing, whatever. Yeah, that's the kind of typical salary that you often hear about. So that kind of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 tax-free employment, there is no employment tax. That's usually good enough to get you a really good standard of living. And if you like being in the sun, if you like the fact that it doesn't rain 360 days of the year, if you can handle the summer, it's a great place to be, because it's a hub and it's in the center of the Middle East. So from here you can get to India in 3 hours. You can get to Bangkok in 6 hours. You can get back to home, back to Europe in 6-7 hours. You can get across to the US really easy. You've got Emirates here, you've got Etihad Airlines in Abu Dhabi. It's very, very simple. And I think what the best thing, what I've got from here, and it's obviously, you speak to people and either they love it or hate it here. There's no loving or hating in every place. There's kind of the glass half full mentality. If you want to find good people, you can find them here. If you want to find activities to do, you can find them here. If you want to find your crew and you're willing to develop those relationships away from your home, it's all here for you. In terms of business, in terms of setting up a business, they make it extremely easy for you. And the harder you work, I feel that not just Dubai and not just the UAE, but the whole of the region rewards productivity. So if you're producing, if you're contributing to the society, you get rewarded for that. And you get rewarded, people change jobs quite fast because people are moving up very quickly. A lot of young go-getters here. So people kind of, the average time in a job for somebody here is 18 months. In the UK, it's 3 to 3.5 years. So there's a lot of opportunity there to move. People understand that people are moving, are career focused, and they're moving around a lot. So I think along with those networks that you can build once you find those solid people who are serious. There's obviously a lot of people who come over from Europe or North America, and it's mainly Europe, that then come here and think that it's a holiday because it's sunny and there's beach clubs and there's bars and there's kind of brunches and all that nonsense. You can get involved in that if you want, but your money's not going to last very long. And you're going to need to get here with anywhere in the world this happens, with a strong work ethic, with discipline, with a good character and honest, and you're using your integrity, you can go very far here. Like you could in New York, London. That's universal. That works. If you're willing to work hard, if you've got the work ethic, you're going to do really well here. You're going to get rewarded. That's it. If you're ever considering to move here, please drop me a message and ask me. Feel free to ask me anything you want about it. Especially this time of year, people are coming here for warm weather training. Athletes that I know from Europe and America are coming here for warm weather training. Where I look right now, I've got a golf course here. Never use it because golf spoils a good walk. You've got football pitches, cricket pitches, 2 athletics tracks from where I can see, and I can literally run from my door. So in terms of running, it's fine. It's not mountainous. It's not as green as I'd like it to be, but it serves a purpose.